Headmaster.
You didn't know that I played euphonium. Good morning, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Moran, Miss Yow, Miss Uncanny, Mrs. Ferguson, soccer coach extraordinaire Mr. Stevens, and men of the college. We at St. Kevin's are celebrating 90 years as a school this year. I like to consider it as a birthday to St. Kevin's. In fact, this occasion reminds me of the 90th birthday of one of the people I consider a hero. My father. The Russell family celebrated this glorious occasion up in Sydney on the weekend. With this great man's work, items that celebrated the glorious life he has led thus far. A photo from when I was an altar server for the Pope in a mass at Randwick. A book of the history of some useful phrases for saying in speeches and consequent assembly addresses. A novelty finger from the Wallabies test match that my father went to that I have since inherited, although not in the item itself. Another book, this time on the proper syntax used in the spoken word, which I have not inherited. I saw these gifts as the acid test for a well-rounded individual. My father was the honoris causa par excellence. That's a phrase you may have remembered me saying in a speech inducting our new college leaders. I got it from that book. If these are the things that define a man, then what defines St. Kevin's? What kind of school are we? When I asked myself this question in mass last Sunday, instead of paying attention to the gospel readings, I came to the inevitable conclusion that St. Kevin's falls under a number of categories. First and foremost, we are an Edmund Rice school. I am sure old Eddie Rice would be very pleased and happy at the things we do in his name at St. Kevin's. Also, we are an APS school, and it gives me great pride to realise that we at St. Kevin's are the only APS school with Saint in front of our name. This may be trivial, yet it is interesting to note all the same. We happen to be a Catholic school, upholding Catholic traditions like singing hymns, going to Mass and praying, even if Travuran and Mr. 40-year-old Version tell us otherwise through their experiences on World Youth Day in Randwick. Finally, we are a boys' school. Although the garments worn by Paul Jones and Nick Cook last year at the House Swimming Carnival may prove the contrary, we will always have boy-centred education. I may have told you already in this address, but my father is an extraordinary man. He gave me this tie I'm wearing today, a true testimony to his penchant for fashion and presenting yourself. Which leads me to my next point. Presentation of public transport is paramount to our reputation as a wealthy private school. Interact which should be used for noting homework and study requirements only, stipulates that hair should not reflect the extremes of fashion by means of colour, cut and length. It also states clearly that piercings of any requirement are not prohibited when wearing the uniform of St. Kevin. This includes sleepers and bull rings. I have realised that I have now taken the vast majority of Mr. Hutchinson's speech, unlike the old chum. On a different note, my colleagues and I, or I, as a unanimous and unequivocal voice of my colleagues, find it distressing that the newsletter is not being read by you, the student body. Sorry, gentlemen, the excuse of a family commitment will not warrant this treacherous crime. The newsletter is an integral part of the college community, arguably just as integral as Brother McCarthy's extended English and philosophy program or Miss Ward's liturgy group. It gives students the opportunity to read what I said in my address, word for word, on Mondays, in case you A, forgot it, or B, were too busy trying to prank call the prayer readers or members of the musical item to listen. The newsletter is simply more than an A3 piece of paper. It contains valuable careers advice from our head of careers, the irreplaceable Mrs. Shirley Gow. It contains the sports reports that are too read out in assembly word for word, and it contains the complexly simple words of our head of faith and missions, the age columnist, an award-winning author of Bypass and other nameless Australian classics, Mr. Michael McGurk. Do consider reading it frequently, otherwise my punishment will be swift and it will be harsh. The message is clear, lads. Mens sans in corpore sano, Latin for the message is clear.